This week, more events are added to the papal calendar. The Vatican offices get a crash course in international accounting. And we ask what it's like to be a priest and a diplomat. Hello and welcome to this edition of Vatican Connections. We'll be talking to the papal nuncio to Canada about what it's like to be a priest and a diplomat. But first, here's what happened at the Vatican this week. Pope Francis has created a new college at the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith just to hear appeals on cases involving priests. When a priest is laicized after being found guilty of abuse or another grave offense, he has a short time frame in which to file an appeal to the CDF. The congregation then looks at the appeal cases as part of their monthly general meeting. As a result, the CDF is only able to handle about 4 or 5 appeals a month. This new college will be solely responsible for hearing rulings on appeal cases involving priests. The college then will report its findings to the rest of the CDF. However, cases involving bishops accused of abuse or other serious offenses will still be heard by the full congregation. This new college will be made up of 7 cardinals or bishops, all appointed by the Pope. We already know one of those members will be Archbishop José Luis Monaghan of Rosario, Argentina. He was appointed to the CDF back in May for the purpose of hearing cases of grave offenses. The Vatican's Secretariat for the Economy has issued a new manual to all Vatican offices outlining the economic practices that will be followed and enforced from now on. The document defines the basic terms of international accounting standards. From now on, all Holy See and Vatican City-State offices must submit a proposed annual budget. It will be reviewed by the Council for the Economy and approved by the Secretariat for the Economy. Even emergency expenses will have to be approved by the Secretariat. And before hiring any staff or holding any special events, Vatican offices must show compelling need. This is a big change from past practices. Until now, meetings about operational finances happened only twice a year, and offices were not asked to submit budgets. The Pope advanced the sainthood causes of 8 men and women by declaring them venerable. One of the causes is that of Jeanne Mance, the woman who founded Montreal's Hôtel Dieu and is credited with actually helping found Montreal itself. Among the other causes advanced by the Pope is that of Silvio Di Segna, a 12-year-old Italian boy who died of bone cancer in the late 1970s, and that of Jesuit Father John Sullivan, who died in Dublin in 1933. It was revealed this week that Pope Francis will address the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization on November 20th. It will happen during an intergovernmental meeting called Better Nutrition, Better Lives. The Food and Agriculture Organization's head office is located in Rome. And the next time you visit St. Peter's, you might notice something new in the area of the restrooms. The Vatican is installing shower facilities in public restrooms, which will be exclusively for the use of the homeless people who live in the area around St. Peter's. The papal almoner, Archbishop Konrad Krajewski, says now donations of towels, soap, and clean underwear will be needed to make the project a success. He's also encouraging nearby parishes to install similar facilities. Did you know? The Vatican has its own diplomatic school for young priests who will one day be made nuncios. It's called the Pontifical Ecclesiastical Academy. It was founded in 1701 by Pope Clement IX and has been training papal diplomats ever since. When a young man answers the call to the priesthood, he normally expects to end up working in a parish or as a chaplain or in some similar capacity. He doesn't expect to end up being made a diplomat. But that's exactly what happened to Archbishop Luigi Bonazzi, who was drafted into the Ecclesiastical Academy and into the Secretariat of State. We spoke to him about what it's like to be a priest and a papal diplomat. I wanted to talk about your time in the diplomatic service. You've been in the diplomatic service since 1999, correct?
As a nuncio, but I started as a collaborator of the papal nuncios in the nunciature in 1980.
Wow.
So I was 32 years old when I moved to Cameroon and I began my service there.
So when you're working for the diplomatic service, whether it's as a nuncio, as an official, it looks, to us on the outside, it looks very much like a bureaucratic posting. It's a diplomatic posting. But at the end of the day, you're still a priest. How does that role as a political functionary, diplomat, go with being a priest?
Yes. Well, you know, it is also very easy in the sense that a priest is a priest when he celebrates Mass, but it is also a priest when he takes lunch. Yes. No. And it is a priest when he goes to visit a sick person, and it is a priest when he does, I don't know, cycling to maintain fit. This is the fact that you are a priest with yourself, with your life. It's not only with your actions. Then there are actions that are more, so to speak, in a specific mission as a priest. But priest is something belonging to your being, no, to your being. And in this sense, this was important for me, because in my first 5 years as a priest, I was actively involved in a parish life, especially with young people. Then I found myself suddenly behind the desk, helping the nuncio to answer a letter or to write a report. But I told myself, Luigi, behind the letter there is a person to whom you are writing, so think to that person. So you are not, your relation is not with a paper, is with a person. So also doing a report, I was referring about events, living events. I should report respecting these events, trying to make these events be alive in my report. This, in this sense, really, for me, is always a question of feeling with my reality as a priest, whatever I do.
You mentioned Cameroon. As nuncio, you've been to Haiti, to Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Cuba. What have you seen in the church around the world? Is there something you can tell us about the church in each of those places?
Well, of course, the church, bishop and the faithful in Haiti, they are confronted with a reality which is very different from the reality in Lithuania, for instance. In Haiti, there is this problem of poverty, of not having what normal people in Canada has. Now, in this sense, the mission of the church is to help each person to find the meaning, the value of that reality, to find the energies to transform a situation of poverty in an occasion to enjoy life, no? To be glad, to be content, even in that occasion. No? And in Canada also, I would say that if I have a mission is to help people to discover that behind the problems there is always the possibility to experience the joy of life, no? The joy of being a human being, that it is a grace, it is a chance to have life, to live in this world, and to get up every morning and to do something new every day, no?
So what happens when you're in a country and the nation is proposing laws or proposing bills or engaged in a national dialogue about things that the church cannot support? Can you tell us a little bit about those kinds of situations? What happens there?
Yes. Well, the nuncio does not enter personally into the life and the dynamic of the life in every given moment of a country. No? In this sense, it is the responsibility of the people or of the Catholic of the country to make their voice be heard and to propose their vision, their consideration about every given question which is on the agenda. No. And of course, on a personal base, I will try to offer my considerations on a specific problem. So, no, if we face the question of euthanasia, I will try to stress that life is a value, is a gift which has different aspects. No? Imagine how boring will be life if you were always 5 years a young boy, no? Or if you were always 25 years. And in the sense that life has different seasons.
Right.
So, and it is important to grasp the value of every season in life. No? Now, nowadays there are persons who consider that there is a season in life, no? For instance, when you are of a certain age and we are entering certain problems, which is not, which has no value. I will try to help them to understand that there is value, an important value also in that season of life, but respecting, of course, the dynamic of the legislator and of the citizen also, because really legislators should in a special way reflect the will of the citizens, no, of the country.
You've served under 3 popes, John Paul II, Benedict XV, and now Francis. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the differences and some of the, you know, the thread that runs through all 3 of those pontificates?
Yes. You know, the Pope is the Pope, is the Bishop of Rome, successor of Peter, and it would be important for us, in order to look at the Pope, never to forget this specific figure, which is Peter. No? And Peter is that person, a human person, to which Jesus Christ has given this task that, thanks to the prayer that Jesus is constantly making for Peter, to be a stone, to be that one who protects and guarantees the faithfulness of the Church to the plan of God. Now, and this is something which is proper to the Pope, not proper to Karol Wojtyła, Cardinal Ratzinger, or Cardinal Mario Bergoglio. This is important because sometimes we, looking at the Pope, we tend to judge the Pope from his personal complexion, from his character. No, and of course, hopefully, one Pope is so different from the other, and we are grateful for this. Now, every Pope also, from his own personal history, also interprets in a special way his role of Pope, of Bishop of Rome, successor of Peter. No? In this sense, Cardinal Wojtyła, now Saint John Paul II, was coming from the history of the a Soviet country. You know? In a special moment, He was born in 1920, soon after the First World War, and he was 20 years old, 24 years old when he entered in the Second World War. And then there was also all this experience of the Soviet occupation and regime, no?
Right.
So he brought into the Catholic Church the experience of a person who have gone through all those things, no? And helped people to realize that to build a society, this was the dream of the communist society, to build a society without God is not possible, no? This was his mission, I think, within the mission of the general mission of the Pope, no? Pope Benedict XVI, the great Pope Benedict XVI, was the Pope practically who received the inheritance from St. John Paul II at the beginning of the third millennium. No? So I think that he was the Pope to fix the, so to speak, the base of the dialogue with a society which was a little bit losing more and more the attention or the interest with God. No? And I think that more and more we will discover that Pope Benedict has given us a legacy that is to be discovered, is to be valued. No? But it is a treasure who is there. And I am sure that the time will reveal that it is a pearl, that it is a treasure, really. Now we are doing the journey of Pope Francis. I would like simply to say, let us try to look at him and listen to him. No? Let his word, his teaching enter not only in our mind but in our hearts. No? And we will discover what God is telling us and giving to the Church and to the world today through Pope Francis.
Last question, just based on what you said about Pope Francis. I've heard several people who kind of watch the Vatican and analyze the Vatican say that he is pushing first and foremost for a conversion of hearts, but also from within. Those people that he talks to in the homilies at the Santa Marta every morning, he's really calling even them to conversion, even those people who work side by side with him every day. Is that an accurate assessment?
Well, you know, God is a mystery, but a mystery in the sense that he is coming to us constantly with something new, with something fresh. He's never repeating. He's always the same, but this same reality, which is God, is constantly something new. No, something new, not in generally, but for me, today, in this moment, and for you, today, in this moment, because what God is capable to do is to speak at the same time, to give something at the same time to everybody, and the specific you need, you, yourself, and me, myself. Now, I think that Pope Francis is trying to help us to discover this new grace, new faith, new word, new love of God reaching you and reaching me. You in your reality, me in my reality, everybody in his reality. And this is something which not everybody understands immediately. But I hope that little by little we will be transformed by the grace of God in this moment, also acting in a special way through Pope Francis.
That's a beautiful image, speaking generally to everyone, but in that same message, there's something specific for each
For
one.
you and for me.
For you and for me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sitting here with me today and answering my questions.
Well, I hope it is some helpful. Yes.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
It was a full week for Pope Francis again. Let's take a look and see what he did. Over the weekend, Pope Francis met with the Salesian sisters who are taking part in their order's general chapter. He said today people suffer because of material poverty, but also from lack of love, and he praised them for their work with young people using Don Bosco's preventative system. He said, "I can do nothing more than to encourage you to follow where the Holy Spirit guides you and widen your gaze to recognize society's most urgent and authentic needs." On Monday, Pope Francis met with the bishops of Senegal, Mauritania, Cape Verde, and Guinea-Bissau on their ad limina visits. And the Pope also received the credentials of Ireland's new ambassador to the Holy See. This was significant because Ireland closed their embassy to the Holy See about 3 years ago. The current embassy to the Holy See will be much smaller than the previous one. The new ambassador, Emma Madigan, becomes the first woman to serve as Ireland's ambassador to the Vatican. Wednesday was, of course, the general audience, and in his catechesis, Pope Francis condemned violence being carried out against Christians in several countries and called on people of goodwill everywhere to take up the cause of religious freedom. He asked the people attending the audience to join him in saying an Our Father for Christians facing persecution. He also continued his catechesis series on the Church and its structure, focusing on the qualities necessary for church ministers. Now, at the end of the audience, he had this special message for Spanish-speaking pilgrims.
Quiero, de alguna manera, expresar a los mexicanos, a los aquí presentes y a los que están en la patria, mi cercanía en este momento doloroso de la legal desaparición, pero sabemos asesinato de los estudiantes. Se hace visible la realidad dramática de toda la criminalidad que existe detrás del comercio y tráfico de drogas. Estoy cerca de ustedes y de su familia.
Vatican Connections is interactive. We answer your questions and explain things you want to know. You can reach us on Twitter at VatiConnections or by email at info@saltandlighttv.org. We'll try our best to answer your questions during this part of our show. Well, that's it for this edition of Vatican Connections. Join us again next time as we prepare for Advent. And don't forget, you can now watch us on Roku in Canada, the US, Ireland, and the UK. Otherwise, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or check our blog for updates. From everyone here, thanks for watching. See you next time.